Welcome back to Wealth Rewired, the podcast that helps you shift out of old financial patterns and step into aligned, intentional wealth creation. I'm Billy Robinson.
And I'm Mark Robinson. Today, we're diving into something foundational. Literally, we're talking about the energetic foundations of wealth.
And if you've ever wondered why some financial strategies work for others, but not for you, or why you keep self-sabotaging, second-guessing, or feeling stuck, then this episode just might be the missing piece.
So let's unpack what we actually mean when we talk about energy in the context of wealth. It isn't vague or fluffy. It's about the way you make decisions, the energy behind your habits, the emotional patterns that shape your financial life. We all have what I'd call a default wealth operation system. Some of us default to logic, others to feeling. Some take fast action, others overthink. That's energy at play.
And everyone has a dominant energetic style. Okay. Some lead with structure, order, and linear thinking, while others lead with flow, connection, and emotional resonance. Okay. Those styles align with two powerful energetic expressions, masculine and feminine. And these aren't about gender, they're about expression. Okay. They're the yin and yang of how we create and hold wealth.
Yeah, I can't agree more. It's not
Yeah.
male, female.
It's
Look,
not.
masculine energy is structure. It's the logic-based, action-orientated, system-driven approach to investing. It looks like having clear goals and plans, research and analysis, risk calculation, KPIs and ROI tracking, strong routines and accountability. Masculine energy is what helps you implement, review, and scale. And I'm pretty sure, babe, that there's a few people there going to sleep already, right? Just listening to that.
Without a doubt. So what you're doing here is you're thinking spreadsheets, profit and loss statements, quarterly strategy sessions, investment plans with benchmarks. So masculine energy loves that stuff.
And we need it, right?
Yeah.
It gives your vision form. It keeps your investing grounded in reality, not just inspiration.
Yeah, 100%. And the feminine energy, on the other hand, brings a completely different flavor to wealth. Okay. She is intuitive, receptive, vision led, values based, and cyclical rather than linear. And she doesn't just look at the numbers, she feels into alignment. Okay. She asks, does this feel expansive? Does it match my desired lifestyle? Does it honor my values?
And she moves with timing. So while the masculine says now's the time based on market indicators, the feminine might say it doesn't feel quite right yet. And sometimes that instinct is way more accurate than the spreadsheet.
She's like the inner oracle, the visionary, and she magnetizes the right opportunities through clarity and frequency, not through chasing or forcing.
And one of the biggest shifts we see with clients is when they realize you don't have to pick a side. You're meant to lead with one and learn to access and trust the other.
Yeah. And look, most people are conditioned to only operate in one, okay, especially in the financial world. Like we're trained to rely on the masculine. Don't get emotional, stick to the plan, just follow the system. But what happens? You cut off your greatest intelligence, your inner alignment.
And on the flip side, some people have never developed structure because they fear it limits their creativity. But without structure, your feminine can't hold anything. You dream and dream, but nothing sticks. And I remember when we were building our first business, babe, like I had no structure,
Yeah.
right? And then nothing got done either. Everything just became, a creative inspiration and an absolute chaos. And it's the same when it comes to your investing.
Yeah, exactly. That's imbalance, and imbalance creates friction, and friction becomes frustration. Okay. That's why so many people sabotage themselves financially. Okay. They're building wealth in a way that's out of sync with who they really are. And honestly, look, I've spent years over relying on my feminine. Okay. I could see the vision so clearly, but I just had no systems to support it. Okay. I've made emotional decisions and just waited for things to be perfect. And I've avoided the hard metrics. And as a result, it's stalled my growth.
Yeah, and look, I was the opposite, right? I ran everything through a mental checklist. I tracked, planned, predicted, but I often ignored when something felt off. I was so in performance mode that I lost connection with purpose.
And look, when Mark and I started working together, not just in life, but in our investing, we had to learn how to actually balance that. So I brought more structure into my flow And Mark brought more trust into his systems, okay? And everything changed.
I think I look back then, and I really believe that when we did this, this is when we built 6 companies in 4 years, because we're in flow, we're trusting your intuition, we were utilizing the masculine from structures. We started to utilize that more, and then all of a sudden we went from mum and dad at a kitchen table with one staff. I think we had
Yeah.
Chris at the time, through to 6 companies in 4 years. And that's the balance. That balance right there is where true wealth lives
Yeah,
lives.
it lives.
Right.
Exactly. So now it's your turn. I want you to take a breath and grab your journal if you can, okay? And ask yourself these questions. Do I lead with more masculine or feminine energy in my financial life? Okay. Where am I avoiding the energy I need to integrate? And what would shift if I embrace both strategy and soul?
Just read them out again, just so I know that there's going to be listeners out there wanting to, rewind.
Yeah.
I was going to say rewind the tape.
Do I lead with more masculine or feminine energy in my financial life? So do I lead with more masculine or feminine energy in my life, financial life, sorry? Where am I avoiding the energy I need to integrate? And what would shift if I embrace both strategy and soul?
Look, awareness is your first step towards financial alignment. When you name it, you can work with it consciously.
Yeah, 100%. Now, in our next episode, we're going to explore the masculine investor archetype, okay, his gifts, his shadows, and how to use that energy with consciousness and confidence.
Without a doubt, it's going to be a must listen, especially if you're someone who thrives on action, targets, or control, but sometimes forgets to feel.
Yeah. And if you're loving this episode journey or this podcast journey, we'd love for you to actually share it, to subscribe, or leave a review, because it helps us reach much more people who are ready to build wealth their way.
And also, guys, don't forget to download our free gifts that we want you to, utilize as much as possible via our link tree, the Feminine Wealth Code book, the Sole Purpose of Wealth book, and the Wealth Rewired book as well. These books dive even deeper into what we've been talking about, and they're completely free.
I'm saying, so just remember, guys,
Yeah, without a doubt, guys. Structure without vision is empty,
and vision without structure is ungrounded.
but together they build lasting, aligned wealth.
Yeah. So we'll see you in the next episode of Wealth Rewired. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.